Hello students, welcome to English class. Today we'll continue with the chapter Little Incidents of Life and we'll read page number 88 and 89. By the end of this video, you would be able to understand the summary of the chapter, meanings of difficult words and phrases, and you will be able to answer the related cross questions. So open your fragrance English reader book. But before beginning with today's session, we'll have a quick review of what we have done in the previous session. Students, we have read this is an interesting story about the Bramleys who were unique as they were rarely attracted by the outside world. They were four in the family, three middle-aged brothers and an elder sister. The farm's car house laid in the middle of the hills. There was no road to the farm. Once the narrator, who was a vet surgeon, went to Scar House to see a horse with a colic. It took long time to reach there. He saw the family sitting quietly on a bench. The Bramleys were fond of cats. They had a number and variety of cats, but the family became unhappy as their cat started dying. They were suffering from enteritis and there was hardly any treatment for it. One morning, Miss Bramley went to the narrator. She was very concerned about her cats as they all were getting infectious by the disease. She asked the narrator to help her. She cried and told that it was Topsy's kittens. They were five in number and they were the best kittens they had got. So, children, we have read till this in the previous session. On the basis of previous reading, you would be able to answer these questions, which are: where was the Bramleys sitting? What side of the Bramleys was discovered by the narrator? Next is, why was the family in utter desolation? Next is, what were the cats suffering from? And the next is, for a moment, Miss Bramley seemed to be struggling with herself. What made Miss Bramley struggle with herself? Now we'll read further, but before reading, we'll discuss the meanings of difficult words and phrases. So our first word is incomparable. INCOMPARABLE. Incomparable means different. Next is ratters. It means animals that catch mice. Next word is mousers. It means animals that catch mice. Next is vaccine. VACCINE. Meaning is injection. Next is sarcastic. SARCASTIC. Meaning is taunting. Next word is extolled. EXTOLLED. Extolled means praised. Next is damiers means their ears. Next word is enormous. ENORMOUS. Meaning is huge. Next is always means always. ALWAYS. Next is mouser. Again an animal that catches mice. Next is grubby and the meaning is dirty. Next is conciseness. It means compact or crisp. CONCISENESS. Conciseness. Next is spidery scrawl. It means to write hastily. Now we'll discuss phrases. And our first phrase is to make a phone call. फोन करने को. Next is to the laboratory, प्रयोगशाला को. Next is from the new vaccine, नए टीके का. After that we have of the result, परिणाम का. Next is for your kittens, and the meaning is तुम्हारे बिल्ली के बच्चों के लिए. After that we have with satisfaction, संतुष्टि के साथ. Next is to know the outcome, परिणाम जानने को. Next is for several months, बहुत महीनों के लिए. Students, now we'll read further. I rubbed my chin. I had heard a lot about Topsy, one of a strain of incomparable letters and mouses. Her latest family was only about 10 weeks old, and it would be a crushing blow to the Bramleys if anything happened to them. But what could I do? There was as yet no protective vaccine against the disease. Or, wait a minute, was there? I remembered that I had heard that the laboratory people at Burroughs were working on one. Students, the narrator had already heard a lot about Topsy kittens, which is one of the best breed of the cats that catches mice. As the kittens were only of 10 weeks, and if anything would have happened to them, it would be a great loss to them. But the narrator was feeling helpless as there was no protective vaccine against the disease. Suddenly, he reminded of the laboratory people at Burrow who were working on the vaccination of this disease. Now we'll read further. I pulled out a chair. Just sit down a few minutes, Miss Bramley. I'm going to make a phone call. I was soon through to the laboratory and half expected a sarcastic reply. But they were kind and cooperative. They had encouraging results from the new vaccine and would be glad to let me have 5 doses for Topsy's kittens if I would inform them of the result. Students, then the narrator made Miss Bramley sit comfortably on a chair and made a phone call to the laboratory people. As the laboratory people were kind and cooperative, they got ready to give the narrator 5 doses of the new vaccine for Topsy's kittens, provided that he would inform them of the result. Now we'll read further. I hurried back to Miss Bramley. I have ordered something for your kittens. I can't guarantee anything, but there's nothing else to do. Have them down here on Tuesday morning. Students, the narrator rushed to Miss Bramley immediately and informed her that he had ordered something for the kittens. The narrator said he could not guarantee, but there was no other option, and asked her to bring her cats on Tuesday morning. Now we'll read further. The vaccine arrived promptly, and as I injected the little creatures, Miss Bramley extolled the virtues of the Topsis line. Look at the size of them ears. Did you ever see bigger ones on kittens? Students, soon the vaccine arrived and the narrator injected the same to the kittens. Miss Bramley praised the size of kittens and their ears. Now there is one question. Do you think the vaccines will cure the kittens? In order to know this answer, we have to read further. I had to admit that I hadn't. The ears were enormous, sail like, and they made the kittens' pretty little faces look even smaller. Miss Bramley nodded and smiled with satisfaction. You can always tell. It's the sure sign of a good mouser. Students, the narrator admitted that he hadn't seen. The kitten's ears were very huge and faces were looking very small. Miss Bramley smiled with satisfaction and agreed with the narrator's statement that huge ears and little faces are the sure sign of a good mouser. Now we read further. The injection was repeated a week later. The kittens were looking well. Well, that's it, I said. We'll just have to wait now. But remember, I want to know the outcome of this. So please don't forget to let me know. Students, the injection was repeated after a week. The kittens were looking well. The narrator asked the Bramley to wait for the outcome for some time. He also asked her not to forget to tell him about the result of this vaccine. Next is, I didn't hear from the Bramleys for several months and had almost forgotten about the little experiment. When I came across a grubby envelope which had apparently been pushed under my door, it was their promised report and was in its way a model of conciseness. It communicated all the information I required without frills or unnecessary words. It was in a careful, spidery scrawl and said simply, Dear Sir, them kittens is now big cats. Yours truly, R. Bramley. Students, later he forgot to contact the Bramleys for a long time, but all of a sudden he received a dirty envelope which had been pushed under his door, and it was Bramley's report about kittens, which showed that kittens were perfectly alright now. It means the vaccine which was given to the Topsy's kittens at that time worked well. So, students, with this, we have completed the reading of this chapter, and on the basis of the reading done, you would be able to answer these questions. And the first is, what did the narrator remember? Whom did the narrator call? How did the Topsy's kittens look like? For a moment, Miss Bramley seemed to be struggling with herself. What made Miss Bramley struggle with herself? How did the narrator get the medicine? Was the vaccine helpful? Why did the letter from R. Bramley make the narrator feel good? Students, I hope you understood the chapter well. Now, read the chapter again and again for better understanding and follow the SNAP homework schedule. Thank you. Have a nice